Okay, we're live.
We're live! All right, what's up everybody? We're going to learn about how to work with investors. So, take out emotion and only focus on numbers. The different types of investors I'll go through today, but I wanted to at least kind of rewire your brain for when you're working with like our bread and butter is residential. Those are people that they're buying houses because they want to live in the house. There's not too many people that are buying houses to make money from the houses. They want to live in the house, they imagine their kids being there, so you're speaking to a lot of emotion. So you're listening to what they're wanting, where they could raise a family, yada yada, and you speak into that. If you truly are hearing what they are saying, you are going to learn how to point them in the right direction. An investor doesn't care about their kids growing up nowhere because their kids ain't going to be there. They're buying something so that it will be profitable for them. So you're going to have to be a little bit more savvy on the number side. So like back in the day, I used to have people on the residential side, they say, hey, can you send me comps on this? Do you think it's overpriced? And things like that. And now I don't even, you don't have to do that. It's like, hey, there's 4 offers on it. So do you want it or not? And they're like, well, I want it. And so then you put in the offer. On the investor side, you just have, hey, this is the numbers I need. These are the numbers that make sense. Let's go ahead and do that. So looking at the numbers, there's a quick little cheat sheet on stuff that makes sense. If I'm looking at a property that is $100,000, this is called the 1% rule. 1% of that price is about the monthly income from rents I need. So if it's $100,000 the purchase price, it needs to bring in about $1,000 a month from rents. That's a quick little litmus test. You can dive in a little bit deeper if you want to look at some properties closer, but that's something that every time I talk to an investor, they always will bring up the 1% rule. Is it fit the 1%? Was it fit the 1% rule? Most folks will say, hey, this 1% rule needs to make sense, or else I don't want it. One of the things we need to look for here is sometimes the 1% rule does not apply for like older multifamily, and that's because you have older landlords who they're like, rent is $400. That's what it's always been. They already have it paid off, and they're like, whatever. So they don't move it up with market value. So you have these people that have this great deal, a landlord doesn't even know because they pay rent, I don't want to push them out and cause a big whatever. So they price it a little bit higher than that 1% rule. So that's where your due diligence kick in and you go, whoa, market rents for a 2-bed, 1-bath in this area are going to be $750 to $850 depending upon the finishes. Right now they're at $400. So if I was to get this property, increase rents, well now this is a cash cow, as before it didn't make sense with the current rents. So then it's just going to be, how is that investor okay with that? Most investors are like, I don't care. They're going to call. A lot of these are month to month. So that's something you need to check in with as well. It's how long the contracts that each tenant has. It's a lot more kind of legwork that way. But this is what the investor wants. They want to know what the rent rolls are. They want to know also, are they on separate water or does the landlord pay for water? Are they on separate electricity? They each have to have a separate meter, or does the landlord pay electricity? Me personally, if I see a quadplex and they share water and electricity, I don't want it. It's a lot of times the numbers, even if it hits the 1% rule, it looks great. It's a little bit inflated because we're not taking into effect the expenses that you're getting taken out of. Because when I have a place that when they're renting, they're paying the rent, they're paying the electricity, they're paying the water, they're paying their gas bill, I'm out of that completely. And I like that because it doesn't cut into my rents. The only thing I got to take care of is the yard and trash. That's what I like, clean and simple. Now, if numbers make sense that way, it's still iffy because what if someone puts on emergency heat and then it kicks into your income? So it's all about the numbers and how it plays out. So when you're looking right across the board, you're sending stuff to that 1% rule. It's a $200,000 property, you got to make sure you're getting $2,000 a month from your income, right? Then you start to dive a little bit deeper. Make sure that, again, they're on the separate meters, both for water and electricity, and you dive in that way. Those are going to be the normal investors. You have to make sure everybody loves the idea of being an investor, but they don't realize it's going to take 20% down 9 times out of 10. And they're like, well, I bought a home with like nothing down. I'm just going to get an investment property. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm just going to get one. Well, do you have 20% down? I don't know. Okay, well, let's talk about what it means to get an investment property. So it's typically, if you're not living in it, it's either 15 to 20% down on an investment property. If you have 4 units or less, you can buy it with a residential loan. So that's awesome. I love that because residential loans are made for people to have a property to live in. Multifamily properties are designed to make money. And so that's why if you go over 5, you're in commercial. You have a higher interest rate, it's a higher appraisal, it's more expensive inspections, it's a whole new ballgame. So if you keep 4 and under, you're still on the, oh, I'm just a residential loan. It's going to be a lot. That's where you can lock in crazy low interest rates and be sure to get that awesome cash flow. Going into cash flow a little bit, it's very, very important when you're looking at cash flow that you're looking at pure cash flow, not fluff cash flow. So what that is so I get the property, say I have $1,000 rent, that's $500 and my mortgage, right? So I go, sweet, I'm cash flowing $500. Well, no, you didn't factor in your insurance. Did you factor in your yard maintenance and what that is per month? What's your trash per month? What is your rainy day fund? So when something breaks, so I already will subtract that out of it. So I'm like, hey, your pure cash flow is like $200 a month. That's awesome because it's pure. It's not inflated. If you have a pure cash flow of like $200 a month, well, now you're kind of fooling yourself. You're like, oh, I'm making $200 a month. Not really. On paper you are, so you can get taxed on it. But really, it's washed out by the time you're paying for yard, by the time you're doing trash, by the time you're fixing stuff. You're really just hoping on appreciation, which I always like to have as cream on the top. So when you're speaking to an investor, they're going to be speaking a lot about cash flow, but then you can also begin to speak their language as you're talking about the local area of what's coming to Johnson City, what's coming to Bristol, what's coming to Kingsport. Because appreciation is what I like to bank on as an extra. I have to have cash flow, absolutely. And you always get the third bonus there is someone else is paying down your debt. So that's the beauty of having an investor and why they want to be an investor is someone is paying down their debt, you're getting paid to have a property, and appreciation happens. So when I first started, I had no idea what that meant for appreciation. How does that translate to currency for me? So it means you buy the place for $100,000 again, you got the rents all situated up, the hotel, the casino comes into Bristol, brings in a ton of jobs, it becomes a happening place, tourism goes up. Well, now the properties that were $100,000 are now $150,000. So now you have appreciation in the middle of that. You have $50,000 of untapped money that you could potentially do a cash out refinance, and that's where you'll see a lot of guys, a lot of investors will do a cash out refinance, use that to then buy more investment properties. So I don't like to bank on that. You will see that some people do that. It's super, super popular in California to do that. Because you can buy a house for $400,000 and it's in rough shape, paint it, put some granite countertops in there, paint some cabinets,
Paint
and
some
now
floors.
put some floors in there, spill some paint, clean it up. It's going to now be a $600,000 property. So even if you put $100,000 into it, you get to pull out this huge big chunk for the investor, right? As the investor's like, heck yeah. So the more you dive into it, the more you're able to help your investors speak their language. I've been called and interviewed by different folks, and that's a lot of the stuff that they're looking for. They always will throw out the 1% rule. They'll always throw out, yeah, so what do you think about what's going on in the area? So I start listing off stuff at Exit 17, how much money they put aside in 2019 for the West Walnut Corridor between Johnson City downtown and to ETSU. So it's just about knowing your local market, knowing what the rents are, and being able to communicate to the investor well on what that is. So that's your typical investor. That's going to be your average run-of-the-mill guy. Is they're going to want your cash flow. They're going to want to make sure, obviously you get somebody no matter what. That's always a perk if someone else is paying down your debt. But the big two ones is that you have cash flow and appreciation. So that's why someone might not want to buy a single wide trailer. That is, they don't own the land. Sure, it cash flows great. They're like, oh great, I get $400 a month just for having this thing. With you not owning the land, there's zero appreciation. You have a mobile home that's just, it's only good for cash flow and that someone else is paying it off. There's zero appreciation to bank on. So I like to make sure that all three of those are hit for my investors unless they have another agenda. Do what?
So tell that to John Carter.
Well, John Carter, this is just for us. There are agents out there that, investors, because once you hit a certain level, that's where it gets, that's where it starts getting really complex is once essentially someone buys a single family home, they do that, they start renting it out, they buy multifamily. Then a lot of folks will buy trailer parks. And where you get a lot of money in trailer parks is that you will actually own these mobile homes that are set up.
They're called Appalachian communities.
Appalachian communities that are set up, right? You have them come in and you offer owner financing, and by the time they start to fix it out, by the time they start fixing it up, making it theirs, they move out, you fix it up again, you rinse, repeat. It's pretty lucrative. It's a lot of work though. And yeah, I don't know, I'm not quite there yet. I just know that there's people that make a good chunk of money buying huge Appalachian communities. You know? But for your average run-of-the-mill guy, the people that are calling, I've had folks from California call. I had a guy, I don't know where he lives now, but he works in Saudi Arabia, wants to buy here because even though people are griping about prices, we are still in a really great market for investments. For the single-family home, you're going to be able to help the investor because they're wanting to buy and hold with this rent technique. If they're looking to flip, they don't have as much margin, so you have to figure out what your investor is. What's their goal? Are they buying to do a quick flip? They're going to know about capital gains. They're going to know about all that fun stuff. They're going to have contractors so they know they're here locally. I've done that for folks remotely. It's not super fun, but we got it done. Or if somebody wants to do what is called buying and holding, that's where you buy something and you hold it and you rent it. As you fix it up a little bit, that's where you'll refinance. They'll use that money to keep using you. So the good news is about working with an investor, it's usually a multiple income stream. They're going to want to continue to use you as you do the job. The bad news is it's pretty cumbersome because there's a lot of work that you go through to make sure that the deal is right. Oftentimes lowballers, that's their nickname. Investors are lowballers. They're going to come in, they want the best deal possible unless the numbers work. So they'll come out there and throw softballs at your feet. And then these people are like, we're in a crazy market, I don't know if I'm going to do that. But every once in a while, you'll get someone that will bite, and that's what they're looking for. It's all about a numbers game. When an investor comes into a market, they're just throwing at everything, seeing what sticks. Cool, that guy quit. And they fix it up, get all their money out and do that. So make sure you know what your investor is looking for as you're working with them, and make sure that you're keeping up with what's happening in the market, that you're familiar with things like the 1% rule, that you know that you're able to, everybody do the real estate test, you're able to do cap rate and all that fun stuff. I don't really jack with cap rate too much, but you want to do your cash on cash return on value. That's just how much money you're putting into it and how much of your return you'll get within the year. So you'll be able to do that percentage. The average return on investment in the stock market is 7%. So for me, that's my bar. If I can make above that 7%, I'm doing great because I'm going to get that money back. So I like to be well above that. That's something that you can throw out as well because that'll show, oh, hey, they're learning, they're doing this stuff. If you're like, how do I learn more? How do I want to work with investors? How can I learn more about it? There's a podcast called Bigger Pockets. Jump on it. They get on there and they talk about different types of things and different ways to invest, from buying Appalachian communities, trailer parks, single-family homes, multifamily, and commercial above that 4-unit level, right? So you have all that stuff. So it just completely opens up wide. I would focus in one area. I am 4 and under. If they want to get commercially, I'm like, okay, great. I can do the work or I can refer it out. But do what you're comfortable with, unless it's really lucrative, and then go ahead and put your face down, study your face off, and help them that way. If it's just way over your head, then ask for help type thing. So, know all that fun stuff there. Again, investors, they just want to make sure that you're knowledgeable, that you're willing to help them, and ultimately, are you willing to throw down lowball offers? Because some agents are like, man, I'm not going to go offer them $100,000. This is a $180,000 property. But if you're like, I don't care, then go ahead and try until one sticks. So, something to keep in mind. One of the things I want to reiterate again, if you have to figure out what your investor is looking for. Right now, I'm working with one who wants to do owner-occupied. That changes up the whole deal. So he wants to buy a unit, live in it, and rent out the rest. So you can do that with duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes. If you want to do that, make sure that that is considered into your numbers as well, because everybody has a price to live. So when you have a price to live, you have to count that into your math. So again, it's just becoming really, really good with your math and understanding understanding what folks are looking for. They want to own or occupy, they're buying a straight investment property. Make sure that they understand if it's 4 and under, yes, it's residential, but you're still going to need to bring that 20% down, 15 to 20% at least. If it's over 4 units, well, now you're looking at commercial world. You cannot use your local lenders that we use typically. It's a whole nother animal. Residential lenders are not commercial lenders. So go find a commercial lender, talk with them. That's how that will work there. So at least you can connect people in the right way. But first, learn what they are wanting, and then dive into that specific market. With the 3 big things of cash flow, which is pure cash flow, appreciation, someone else is paying down your debt. Those are the 3 things that excite them and that they're going to want to get on. You can tell I'm totally So yeah, that's it. If y'all have any questions about working with investors or anything like that, feel free to ask me. Feel free to ask Tim. Tim has worked with many investors. Tim has helped me buy investment properties. Tim has helped Dustin buy investment properties. He himself has a good amount there. Last time I checked, he had like 15 doors in Atlanta. So very well versed in it, knows how to make it work. So if you have any questions at all about how to work with an investor, if that's something you want to learn more about, feel free to reach out to me or Tim or whoever. Hope y'all had a good learning experience. If you have any questions, just reach out.
Thanks, Matt.